Hi, I'm Liani from the UTS Kendo Club, and this video is gonna be how to do Shinai maintenance. So before we begin, what you need to do Shinai maintenance is a pair of pliers, some cutters, some sandpaper, a Stanley knife, some paper towel, and a neutral oil such as linseed oil. First things first, we're going to take apart the nakayui. So find the edge of the leather and then just undo the threading. Use a pair of pliers if it's a little bit tight, and then unravel it from the bamboo. Next thing is we're going to undo the hemo from the suru, the handle. So find the end of it. Again, grab the pliers if you need to. Unravel it completely until it's separated from the suru. Next thing is we're going to take off the tip. You're going to have this on the inside. Make sure you do not lose that. Then we're going to take off the handle, the suka. Now sometimes after a little bit of wriggling you can get it straight off, but if you're having a little bit of difficulty, what I like to do is bang the end of it onto the desk and just wriggle your hands down as you do, and it'll loosen it up for you. Next things first is you're gonna take apart the slats. Now, because I've done maintenance on this Shinai before, they're nice and loose here, but if this is a new Shinai, you might find that it's a little bit stiff here from all the glue. So what you're gonna do is, if it's a hard Shinai to take apart, you're going to use your fingers and just pry it open here, and you're going to keep on moving along until it comes off cleanly. But because I have done maintenance on this before, it's a little bit easier. Now what you're going to do is, one slat at a time, you're going to inspect it for cracks. Usually you're going to find the cracks, if anywhere, around here, but sometimes you can find them down here too. And then you're going to check for splinters. Now this is very important, not just for the longevity of your Shinai, but also for the safety of your fellow trainees. Next things first is, after checking it for splinters, if you find any, you're going to grab some sandpaper. And I've got a little bit of a splinter there. You're just going to sand it down. I have a bit of a feel. Once it's gone, then I like grabbing a bigger piece of sandpaper and just doing a very general light sanding along the whole Shinai. Then have a light feel. You don't want to put any splinters in your hand, and just run your finger all along to see if it's nice and smooth. After that is when you're going to oil your Shinai. So grab a bit of your paper towel, grab your neutral oil. You're going to put a little bit on the paper towel, you don't want too much. And then you're going to rub it all along the Shinai slat, just enough to moisten it. You do not want to add enough where it's all slippery, just enough where you can feel that the moisture is being added back into the slat. You are then going to repeat this with all of your other slats. Next things next is we're going to put the slats back together, making sure that all the notches along each slat are lined up together. You'll notice a metal piece at the very bottom of your Shinai. That's to keep them all together. Do not throw that out. It helps align it with each other. So now you're going to put the slats back together. They should fit neatly into the metal piece here. However, if you find that it's not quite lining in, like this piece here, how it's not quite fitting in like this, that is when you get the Stanley knife and you just cut into the notch a little bit better. Making sure that you're careful to save your fingers. After that, we'll check on it again and put it back in. Now make sure while you're lining it up that these are not tangled as well, because if they are, it's not going to sit flush with each other. So make sure these are roughly in the right spot too. And then that is when this is back together properly. Now you can see if I'm putting pressure on it, it's lined up properly. However, once I let go, it's gonna come undone a bit. It'll sit nice and flush once you put the handle back on. If you're finding you're having difficulty putting the handle back on, grab the tip of the Shinai, hold it against the floor, especially a bit of carpet where it's nice and soft, you're not going to make a lot of noise, and just bang it. Start with a loose grip, and as you hit the ground, tighten it, and it'll actually, you can see that it's traveling down the Shinai until here it's nice and flush. Next things next, make sure that your slats are lined up properly, and then you're going to grab the rubber tip and put it on the inside so it spaces out the slats properly. Then grab the sakigala, line it onto the Shinai slats, and make sure that the himo is lined up with the suka. Next, we're going to tie the himo back to the handle, but first things first, see this little knot? Over time, as you train, the himo stretches longer and longer, which brings us closer and closer. So for this to be tied properly, I need to move it up a little bit, probably about 10 centimeters away from here. So grab a bit of pliers, undo the knot, slide it up to your desired length, which for me is about here. After you've got it to your desired length, then just tighten the knot. Now, if you've got a training Shinai, this bit here may not necessarily be a piece of leather, but it could be a loop that looks similar to this. If it is, you just adjust the loop and move it up the same way that we did with this. Then you're going to grab the himo. Now for a competition Shinai like this, or if you've got a special handle, you're going to loop the himo through these two outside loops, just like that. Then you're going to loop this bit through the little notch here. Now if you find you're having difficulty making a hole for it to go through, grab your pliers, use it to widen it a bit, pull it through. Then after that, you're going to bring it to the bottom, and then you're going to tighten it. Now once you get to this part, you're going to pull, making sure, if you check here, that it's tight enough where you can just fit 2 fingers in. If I loosen it up and you can fit 3, that's too loose and your Shinai slats aren't going to hold itself together. But if it's too tight where you can't fit the 2 fingers in, it's going to put too much strain on the slats and you can risk bambooing your Shinai. Once it is tight enough, you are then going to grab the hemel and you're going to loop it, making sure that you've always got fingers here, keeping that tightness. You're going to loop it underneath the hemel, like so. Then bring the end of it through here, pull up, wiggle this down a little bit, and pull. Once you get to this stage, you're then going to start looping it the opposite direction underneath the Shinai leather like that. And you're just going to keep on repeating that over and over again. So once you get to about this length, first things first, check the hemel again, make sure it's tight enough, because sometimes as you're tightening it here, it'll be loosened. So after you get to this bit, you're going to make a little loop here, grab the end of the hemel, pull it through and pull. Now, once you get to this stage and you've got this excess loop, there are 2 things you can do. Either grab a pair of pliers and cut it about here so it's not too long, or what I like to do is you then loop it underneath the leather here, and then I tuck it on the inside. That way, when I'm training, it's not hanging out at all. Next thing is we're gonna retie the nakayui. So first, make sure it's about probably around 25 centimeters away from the tip of the Shinai, roughly just underneath the first knot. Then you're going to loop it underneath the Shinai 3 times. Doesn't matter if you go up or down, it's personal preference. Making sure you tie it as tight as possible along the way. Okay. Once you get to this bit, now don't worry about it leaning that way, because we will adjust it as we're tying it. We're going to grab the tip of the nakayui, bring it underneath the hemel, then you're going to pull it through the loop on this side and pull as tight as you can. Then you're going to grab the tip of the nakayui again, loop it underneath the hemel, loop it through here and pull. If you're finding you can't pull it tight enough, feel free to grab the pliers and use that to pull it tighter. Now, we've done that knot once. For us to complete it, we have to do it 2 more times, so 3 total. Bring it underneath the hemel on the bottom. Pull here, there. And then again, 1 more time at the top. Now, because there's not a lot of length left, you will need the pliers for this last pull. Once you've done that, just adjust it so it's back to the middle. Then, if you want to trim this, now this is an okay length, but I do find it a little bit long. So grab the clippers and just trim it a bit. Same with the hemel. Over time, the nakayui will stretch, so as you continue doing maintenance, you will need to trim it from time to time. And that is how you do Shinai maintenance.